So I believe that Chris Eubank Jr. is going to destroy and stop the drug cheat Conor Benn this weekend. That is what I believe. Fight week is finally here. This is Chris Eubank Jr.'s time to steal the show. Let's get right into it. I believe that the uppercut for Chris Eubank Jr. is going to be there all night. And we know that that is Chris Eubank Jr.'s best shot. The uppercut. Conor Benn loves to dip his head down when he's coming forward, and he's going to be dipping into that uppercut. But Conor Benn is going to be the one, with the initiative straight away coming out on that front foot. He will be. Chris Eubank Jr., in my opinion, will be able to double up that jab and create a lot of space and create angle changes. I fought against Kamil Cezameta. I thought the angle changes and, the way Eubank Jr. was able to create space looked very good. I think he did get caught with some unnecessary shots, but if I'm being real, I don't think that Conor Benn has the power to put Chris Eubank Jr. away. Eubank Jr. has got a good chin. And yes, I know we do need to put in consideration the rehydration clause. We do. But if Eubank Jr. can be as healthy as he possibly can, I believe he will be able to stop Conor Benn. Chris Eubank Jr. is very good, very, very good at whipping in that uppercut. He's very good at whipping in body shots, and I see Conor Benn walking into that a lot. And Eubank Jr. is going to be able to create a lot of angles and make space. And I don't think Eubank Jr. is going to win because he's the bigger man. I don't really think that's going to play a big factor because of the rehydration clause. I don't. I think Eubank is going to win because he's the technically better boxer. I think he's much more slick than what Benn is. I think Eubank's got much better overall boxing IQ than what Conor Benn has. And I think Eubank Jr.'s got better cardio to go on as well. And I feel like something that is going to let Conor Benn down in this fight is the fact he's going to get overeager. He's going to get too emotional. We can tell that in Conor Benn's style. He's always like that. And against Eubank Jr., who's always very good under pressure, and when, he's on the back foot, he's able to stay very, very, very calm, figure you out. That's what Eubank does nicely. I think Conor Benn's going to get overeager and walk into shots from Eubank. And Eubank's definitely the more powerful guy. I think he's the quicker puncher as well. Eubank Jr. can keep up a good pace, and I think Eubank Jr. will win this fight late on. We have seen Eubank Jr. be able to keep up a good pace in his fights. Against Liam Williams, he boxed a good fight there, dropping him 4 times, not 3 times, it was 4 times. And I want to see the knockout, but, Eubank Jr. completely schooled Liam Williams and set a good pace for the whole fight. Against Liam Smith in the rematch, he was able to, always keep up a very good pace in that fight. And, was constantly, going out with the same intensity round after round after round, and was going and, was keeping up that same pace. Against Kamil Cezameta, he didn't really slow down whatsoever. And I feel like that was a very good performance from Eubank Jr. in general, when he was whipping in shots nicely, when he was creating space, when he was creating angles. He was pretty awkward. His jab was very awkward to get around. And the way he sets up his uppercut behind the lead hand, I feel like Conor Benn is tailor-made to be hit by the big uppercut of Chris Eubank Jr. He just dips his head down when he comes forward. He does keep his shin low and does come forward with a good high guard, Conor Benn, but I think Eubank Jr. is going to be able to go to the body, whip some shots in there, bring Conor Benn's hands down a bit, be able to whip in some nice uppercuts. I think Eubank Jr. is going to be able to really outsmart Conor Benn. I feel like the overall IQ of Eubank and the angle changes that he's able to do, I think, is very underrated. Conor Benn can come forward and throw punches from some different angles, but he doesn't have any, he doesn't create a lot of space. He does like to, keep it in the pocket, but I do feel like him doing that is going to wear him out in this fight. Eubank Jr. is decent in the pocket, the way he puts in his body shots. I think we saw that against Kamil Cezameta. We saw it against Liam Smith. He was able to whip in some good shots to the body on the inside. Chris Eubank Jr. was, but he ideally does need to keep this fight at range. But I think Eubank Jr. is going to want to go on the inside of it, but he's going to be right back out of there though. But I feel like he's going to stun Conor Benn quite a few times, or possibly wind him to the body. With Conor Benn, he is going to start quick. And that is something that Eubank needs to be wary of. And I feel like that is what he is going to be wary of. Conor Benn's going to look to back Chris Eubank Jr. up against the ropes from the very start of the fight. We know that for a fact, but I don't trust Conor Benn's gas tank whatsoever. Unless he's on EPO, but no. Look, I think looking at the Adrian Granados fight from Conor Benn, he won basically every round in that fight, but he was slowing. The intensity from Conor Benn was slowing down in that fight. Against Orozco, again, he was slowing down in that fight towards the end. Against Pete Dobson, Conor Benn dropped a lot of rounds in that fight. Plus, don't forget, he actually got hit more times than I actually remember. Pete Dobson got a lot of success in that fight, to be honest. More than I actually remember when I first watched it than when I actually watched it back the other day. You know, Dobson got a lot of success on Pete Dobson. Eubank Jr. is actually pretty accurate. Conor Benn likes to come forward, likes to throw with good volume, but I don't think he's got the power to get Chris Eubank Jr. out of there. But again, though, the rehydration clause could play a part in that. The rehydration clause could be a factor in that, though, and Eubank Jr. could be slightly affected a bit more by Conor Benn in this fight. But, I mean, I think Eubank Jr. is going to be, he's going to be defensively cautious early on. And Conor Benn is going to look to have a good start. But Eubank Jr. needs to get behind that jab. And, I've never really seen anyone throw as much uppercuts in a fight, though, as Chris Eubank Jr. does. The amount he threw in his recent one against Camille was unbelievable. And, I'm not comparing Camille and Conor Benn, but they do both like to, they both do like to come forward. But Conor Benn has much more better variety in these shots. He's a much more tougher operator than Camille. But Benn does walk into shots. He does walk into shots, and he can be there to be backed up at times. And that's what I think. When Conor Benn is hurt, he can go up against the ropes. We saw it against Pete Dobson. When Pete Dobson actually took the initiative on the front foot, that's where he got the most success. If Eubank Jr. is on the front foot, I reckon he could have a field day with Conor Benn. Conor Benn is not a good back foot fighter whatsoever. And I feel like body shots and uppercuts that Eubank's going to be whipping in all night, I think he's going to get to Conor Benn, and I feel like that is something that will eventually be able to stick Conor Benn on that back foot, and Chris Eubank Jr. is going to be able to get a field day with his work. That is what I think. It's going to be competitive in parts, but a shadow of a doubt this fight will be. But Eubank Jr. is too skilled, in my opinion. It's not that he's too big. They've got a rehydration clause. He is too skilled for Conor Benn. He is too smart for Conor Benn. Eubank Jr.'s got a better boxing IQ than Conor Benn. Eubank Jr. is in the head of Conor Benn. And Conor Benn is a very emotional fighter. He is going to get over-eager. He's going to go hunting for the finish from the very off. Conor Benn, and the thing is with him as well, he always goes hunting for a finish. He doesn't wait for it to come to him. He goes for it. And that is something which is going to let him down. He's going to walk into shots. He's going to make mistakes. And that is what Eubank does well. He lures you in and makes you walk into his shots. Such as the uppercut, which is a bloody dangerous one for Conor Benn to deal with. And I feel like he's tailor-made to be hit with that, if I'm being real. We saw against Orozco, Conor Benn was so over-eager, he was chasing the finish. Against Pete Dobson, Conor Benn was so over-eager, he was chasing the finish. And he was making mistakes in those fights. He was making mistakes. And when Conor Benn's power doesn't affect his opponent, he makes mistakes. And I don't think it's going to be able to affect Eubank too much to finish him off. Conor Benn's going to make mistakes in this fight. He might, because of the rehydration clause, he might, catch Eubank Jr. and make Eubank Jr. rethink a few things here and there and, make him come at it from a, different perspective in the fight. But it's not going to be something that shuts his lights out or really fully badly wobbles him or stuns him. That's not going to happen. Chris Eubank Jr. is going to beat Conor Benn. Chris Eubank Jr. will stop him in rounds 10 or 11, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you all for watching.